All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is Government Employees Retirement System of the Virgin Islands regular meeting of the Board of Trustees for Thursday, September 26, 2024. It's hereby called to order. Mr. Administrator, can I have a roll call, please?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman. Trustee Bowery.
Present.
Trustee Bowery present. Trustee Dorsey.
Present.
Trustee Dorsey present. Trustee Liger. Trustee Liger absent. Trustee Russell.
Present.
Trustee Russell present. Trustee Smith.
Present.
Trustee Smith present. Trustee Callwood.
Present.
Trustee Callwood present. Mr. Chairman, there are 5 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. Are there any comments and suggestions from retirees? Hearing none, are there comments and suggestions from active members? Hearing none, the next item up on the agenda would be the Secretary's minutes from the August 8th, 2024 meeting. Are there any edits or corrections to be made to the minutes? I have a motion to accept the minutes for the August 8th, 2024 regular meeting.
So move. Second.
Moved by Trustee Dorsey, seconded by Trustee Smith. Have a roll call, please.
Yes. Trustee Bowery.
Yes.
Trustee Bowery, yes. Trustee Dorsey.
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey, yes. Trustee Liger. Trustee Liger absent. Trustee Russell.
Yes.
Trustee Russell, yes. Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Trustee Smith, yes. Trustee Callwood.
Yes.
Trustee Callwood, yes. Mr. Chairman, 5 yea, 1 absent.
Thank you. Mr. Administrator, are there any communications or correspondences to be read into the record?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Chairman's report. There's none. Let's move to the administrator's report.
Yes, the administrator's report for the period August through September 15th. As usual, we begin with meetings, presentations, and appearances. So July 18th, Yes, July 18th, we had the Havenside Green Space Visitor Center kickoff meeting. July 23rd through 26th, we had our board retreat. August 1st, we had a meeting with Attorney Carol Rich regarding Havenside lease. Sorry.
Not yet, sorry.
Havenside leases. I also had an interview with the St. Thomas Source. August 8th, we had our board meeting. August 12th through August 29th, I was on vacation. September 4th, we had an annual overview of operations legislative hearing. September 11th, we had a meeting with a union on a matter. September 12th, budget committee meeting was held. September 13th, we had an all-staff meeting and employee recognition. And September 18th, I had an interview with WTJX TV. And September 19th, I had a meeting with the U.S. Government Accountability Office. And I also had a meeting with Acting Attorney General Gordon Rhea regarding the Department of Justice lease.
Regarding what?
Department of Justice lease.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yes, you tell us some more about that at some point.
Routine regarding, of course, their rent and the nature of an upcoming renewal of their lease.
Okay.
Member services, retirement applications as of September 15th, 2024. We, through 2024, we have 148 remaining membership retirement applications to be processed. 165 rather, 148 from 2024, 13 from 2023, and we've already received one for 2025, totaling 165. Contributions processing, refunds and death benefits. We have completed 672 cases. There are 32 remaining to be processed, so we have a completion rate of 95.5% thus far. Death benefits, we have 65 cases, of which 43 have been completed and 65 are pending. So we have approximately 60% remaining to be processed for the period. From the accounting department, we have paid out for the period October 1st, 2023 through September 13, 2024, $258,241,000. The bulk of it being service retirement annuities at $252 million. We also have survivor annuities, $1.6 million, and duty connected disability annuities, $3 million, and non-duty disability annuities, $1.5 million, for a total of $258,241,000. Number of retirees added to the payroll from October 1st, 2023 through September 13th, 2024 was 312. Excuse me. Have a bit of a cold. A number of retirees added to the payroll for September 13th, 2024. Pay date was 16. Number of retirees expected to be placed on the payroll for September 30th, 2024, 7. Number of retirees deleted from the payroll from October 1st, 2023 through September 13th, 2024 was 290. As of September 13th, 2024, the gross retiree payroll per pay period has arrived at $11,281,000. We have total disbursements per period of 9,416. 1,719 of those are outside of the Virgin Islands, and 7,697 are within the Virgin Islands. The loans portfolio, as of August 31st, 2024, we have 2,500 active personal loans, of which 1,262 are in the St. Thomas and John district, and 1,238 are in the St. Croix district. Mortgages, which we no longer offer, of course, is a relatively small number at 69. Total outstanding loans, active personal loans, $20,071,000. Retiree personal loans, which are legacy loans, $1,022,000. Purchase refi mortgages, $1.2 million, rounded. Construction loans, $1.6 million, and land loans, $342,000, rounded. Once again, all mortgages are legacy mortgages since they're no longer offered. The total portfolio as of August 31st, 2024, stood at $24,180,000. Regarding operations, our St. Croix office complex continues to be very well maintained with no issues other than routine matters. We do have pending maintenance to one of our air conditioning units, which will in fact be replaced here on St. Croix. On St. Thomas, we have commenced the southern flat roof renovation. All materials required to complete. All materials required to complete the first phase were placed on the roof recently, and we continue to remove carpeting throughout the building where feasible, which assists, of course, without any environmental matters in the building. At Haven Site Mall, The hotel project, Hampton by Hilton, continues very well, and that project is at 63 completion as of present.
63%.
63%, right? I'll wait a moment. Okay. With regards to Haven site, we're also continuing our generator initiative, which is very important these days, given the unreliability both of our primary and secondary power supply. We are adding a new generator, as you know. We have demolished the existing. It's a bit distracting.
Let's take a 2-minute recess. Okay, we're back on the record. Let me apologize. We were trying to rectify some technical issues that that we were having. So pardon the interruption. Ms. Administrator, please continue.
Thank you. So I was at the Havenside Mall portion of the operations report. I indicated that the hotel project is 63% complete. With regards to the generators, the work demolishing the concrete pad where the existing generator was has been 100% completed. We've also completed the necessary trenching and the construction of the new concrete pad for the new generator is 80% complete. So we're making very good progress there. Rental collections, as of August 2024, for August 2024 rather, our collections was 54,393.09. Fiscal year to date, we have collected $1,206,629, which $857,000 was for rent and $350,000 was for electricity. We currently have arrearages totaling $360,055. Most the Department of Justice with $185,315 for rent and $147,000 for electricity.
What, if I interrupt you,
174. Go ahead, Trustee Bowery.
what, that $360,000 arrears, I assume that was part of, on the agenda for a meeting with the new AG. Is there anything
Most certainly was.
anything you want to share with the board about what came out of that conversation?
Well, with regards to the rents, we did have an assurance that they were working with the Department of Finance for the processing of their payment, and I was in fact sent some information from the Department of Finance indicating that their payments were being processed. So we do expect that the rental arrearage and electricity will be resolved in short order.
Okay,
and
so
that is
there's no dispute on it like that.
no, there's no dispute whatsoever. They have acknowledged that they owe the rent and they have done what they needed to do to initiate the processing of the payment. But of course, ultimately, the payment comes from the Department of Finance.
Yeah.
Of the 360,000 in overall arrearages, the bulk, as I indicated, is the Department of Justice. There's a small balance for electricity owed from the Division of Personnel for $28,000 out of the $360,000. So when we receive the payment from finance for the Department of Justice and also for personnel, that we will have no arrearages left at that point. I think some of it may be due to it being close to the end of a fiscal year as well, and the challenges that that can impose. And that, Mr. Chairman, concludes the administrator's report. There's a small report from the Quality and Control Unit, which just outlines the number of employees per agency presently as of August 2024. Okay.
All right, question. Go ahead, Trustee Lewis.
The July 18th meeting, the visitor center, what exactly was that about? Was that about discussing the plans for the visitor center? What exactly was that about?
Yes, that includes the plans for the visitor center as well as for the green space.
Okay, so we selected an architect for that already? Or is the gentleman, Mr. Miller, was he part of that meeting?
Yes, the meeting was.
Oh, okay, so he's basically moving forward with the construction and design and building that out 100%.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then the meeting with the US Government Accountability Office, what was that about?
Well, that was at their request, under the PROMESA legislation, the GAO and the Department of Interior Insular Affairs is required to meet with the government as well and the GERS and other agencies of the USVI, and GERS happens to be one. So of course, when we get a request for a meeting from the GAO, we're glad to accept it and to participate.
And then the other question I had is not on the agenda per se, but as you know, in the news, in terms of security to the building, the judge that was shot by the officer that works for the judge, in a sense, in the States recently, like in our security, like we just check in with the computer, you know, you put your finger on there, put in your email address, your picture comes up, and you select who you're gonna go see or what, you know, section you're gonna go see. Are we considering maybe something to walk through so we can know if people have a weapon on them?
I'm sorry.
Are we considering something where people would walk through? So if we can know if people have some kind of weapon on them to protect the employees in both buildings since that incident? Like I came over on the plane with the rest of the trustees, and then in my mind, when I saw the officer this morning, I really thought he was covering the chair on the way over in terms of security.
I'm sorry, Trustee Dorsey, I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, I'm saying when I flew over, when I flew over this morning, I came on the plane with the chair, another trustee and myself and our counsel. And I did see an officer sitting to the side. I just assumed the officer, because I never been to a St. Croix meeting. I thought the officer was covering the chair coming to St. Croix as his security. Then I was told by the trustee that he's the governor's security. So that I still had in my mind in this meeting that the building probably needs to beef up security, right? I'm not saying it can't, something can't happen from within, from a disgruntled, but I think overall, we may need to just look at that. I'm not saying there's anything going on in either district, but from a security standpoint and this knowing that that just happened from someone who's supposed to be protecting you. I know we have a security guard, but do we have something, I mean, are you thinking about it? Because I know you said you had meetings with your security person, Mr. Moorhead. Are you looking at something where when people walk in the building, and I don't know if we even have a policy with that. When you walk in, if you have a weapon, you leave it downstairs. You know what I mean?
Okay, so thank you for the question, Trustee Dorsey, and thank you for the concern expressed. If I understand the case that you're referring to, it was actually a case where the sheriff, a sworn law enforcement officer, shot the judge. So it's difficult to predict these things. I don't think anyone would have ever predicted that, but nonetheless, security is something that we're always conscious of and you know, aware of. So we do have security guards in both our buildings. The one in St. Thomas and on St. Croix Haven side, of course, has an entire security detail on hand. But you know, you should always be assessing security. So I agree with you. We look at it further. We do have receptionists, and we have the doors that you have to be buzzed through, as well as, of course, the guard on the ground level and one outside at the main complex in St. Thomas, and then you have a guard here in St. Croix. But we look at it and see with professionals and see if there's anything else that we should be doing and could be doing. And of course, when it comes to security, we don't want to reveal everything because then you tip your hand as to the resources that you have.
I'm just saying, like we just came in this building and we walked in, which is good, but we didn't walk through anything, you know, security, you know, St. Thomas, you sign in and all of that. But I was just saying, like, maybe we need to look at having something you walk through to let you know if you're carrying a weapon of some sort on you, even the employees, actually, right? I'm sure your employees probably have cars they can buzz in doors and that kind of stuff. But maybe the next step, I'm not saying you're not doing it, but I was just putting it out there because that did, you know, just happen. It's in the news and it's kind of weird, right? But things happen. And I'm not saying you have disgruntled employees, but it'd be nice to know that, you know, at least everybody initially had to go through the security check, right? It's for everybody's safety. That's all I was looking at.
Right. No, certainly heard and appreciated, and we do have measures in place, as I indicated, including guards at the entrance of our building, and you do have to sign in. Is there more that can be done? We'll see. We'll definitely assess the situation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee.
I have one question. I know at one time we were looking into the solar project. Are we still looking into solar for our buildings?
I was telling Trustee Smith, in the year that I've been here, we have not gotten traction with regards to solar system. Is it something that I've thought of and that maybe we should be looking into?
Yeah,
Certainly. But we were really focused on getting our generators up to speed, which we essentially have. But can that be supplemented by other means of power production? It's definitely worth looking at.
Yeah, I think we need it now in this atmosphere that we're in right now.
Do you know if the hotel, the new hotel, is going to have any solar energy capabilities?
Trustee Dorsey, they'll be off.
Worry.
Oh, Trustee Bowery, sorry, I have those in my mind. Trustee Bowery.
Yeah, we have one more chance.
What was that?
Yeah, one more
Yeah, we have one more
chance.
chance to straighten up here,
Oh.
to get it right.
Trustee Bowery, we Hampton by Hilton will be completely off grid. They're building a microgrid to power the hotel property.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions for the chairman? I mean, for the administrator?
And the weather.
Yeah. All right. Committee reports. The budget committee met on September 12th, 2024 to review for the GRS and Havenside budgets. All trustees were invited to participate and, you know, do the deep dives into the budgets. Report. The treasurer's report.
The CFO is.
She's on.
Sorry, she on?
Okay.
No.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning, trustee, board chair and other trustees. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay. This is the government employees retirement system schedule of receipts and disbursement for the month ending August 31st, 2024. Receipts from collections. We have loan repayment, $667,222. Year to date, $5,051,828. We have employer retirement contribution, $7,890,057. Year to date, $93,159,406. Employee retirement contributions, $4,039,370. Year to date, $52,379,435. We have a total collection for the month of August of $12,677,279. Year to date, $277,885,334. We have disbursements. We have annuity payments of $809,742 for the month of August. Year to date, $250,448,141. We have administrative expenses of $1,534,126. Year-to-date, $14,091,758. We have personal loans, $1,845,493. Year-to-date, $18,682 and $682,508. I'm sorry. We have refunds of contribution for the month of August of $475,695. Year-to-date, $10,896,644, for a total disbursement for the month of August of $26,696,542. Year-to-date, $294,253,125. For the month of August, we had a net cash deficit of $14,019,263, and year-to-date, $16,367,791. Local collections for the month of August were 47% of what was needed for our disbursement. Our fiscal year-to-date collection were 14% on the fiscal 2023 year-to-date collection. Our administrative expenses were 62% of budget, and our fiscal year-to-date administrative expenses were 2% on the last fiscal year-to-date expenses. Year-to-date withdrawal from the investment portfolio was $145 million. Then we'll go ahead. So the Havenside Mall schedule of receipts and disbursement for the month ending August 31st, 2024. We have a total collection for the month of August of $373,370. Year-to-date collection was $4,900,451. We have disbursement totaling $615,563 year-to-date, $5,303,968. We had a net cash deficit for the month of August of $242,193. Year-to-date, $403,518. Our Havenside Mall expenses for the year were at 67% of the budgeted amount. When we look at this,
Mr. Chairman, I have a request. As most of you know, that I've raised a couple of, on several occasions, I've raised a question about whether the mall need to be contributing to the operation expense of the system, owing to the fact that which has some kind of management fee or something. I mean, part of our expenses contribute to the for the management of the mall itself. And you recall back when we first acquired the mall, we actually used to pay the WICO an administrative cost or something, some kind of expense. So I know I've raised that. So what I would like to request is some report or analysis from management as to whether or not that's appropriate, and if so, by how much. And that's my request. I know I've raised this issue a couple of times. I have I have an issue also, a question as to the mall on our financial statements is part of the investment. It's listed as an investment on the books. My question is, what is the return on that investment? What return are we on, is the system earning on that investment, and how is that determined?
What, just for clarification, you asking what has been the return on investment since we acquired the property or?
No,
Annual
no. What? I mean, we're supposed to we're supposed to earn a return on our investment. So we know what it is on our financial investments. We get a report every month that shows what the return is on our financial investments. That's provided every month by in that report. I guess that's report coming up next, I assume. But how do we determine what is the return on that part of our investment or investment in the mall? If we continue to show the mall as an investment, how do we determine the return on that investment?
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
sure.
in addressing Trustee Bowery's questions, in the first instance, with regards to charging of a management fee for whatever it's worth from a management perspective, I have no disagreement with Trustee Bowery. I think the dynamic has changed somewhat since we have now hired a full-time manager that is budgeted under Havenside, and that a lot of the administrative effort that may have previously been exerted on the GERS side has now been transferred to Havenside. So by the paying of a full-time manager's salary, we have essentially put a substantial portion of that burden, so to speak, on Havenside directly. Does it mean that there isn't other support services that are rendered from GERS? No, it doesn't mean that at all. So I think, to Trustee Bowery's point, we can do an analysis and determine how much of that cost can be attributed to Havenside and bill them accordingly. With regard to the return on investment, well, first of all, we are presently undergoing an appraisal of the Havenside property. So that will determine the denominator in the equation. In terms of the numerator, what we are earning on Havenside, I would say that from the time I came in, it was my assessment that we are not earning enough. So we are undertaking various projects that you're aware of, including our engagement with ideas, the recruitment of the hotel to the Havenside property, and many of the things that we're doing, and substantially rental income, which had been abated during the pandemic, will be back at 100% come October. So all of these measures will come together to result in an improving revenue picture for Havenside, which will increase and improve our return on investment. I have very high standards and very high requests of my staff, and I will not rest until we get the return of the Havenside Mall to a point that I would say that it would be the equivalent, at least, of what we're making on our marketable securities. Other than that, it would be an opportunity lost. So clearly it's a work in progress. The property having been taken over from Waco right at the beginning of the pandemic certainly didn't help. But I do believe with what we're doing, we're moving it in the right direction.
Okay, so I'm looking forward for some a discussion paper or something that addresses that, because I'm still not clear. It seems to me that the return on investment for the mall, the whole time it's reflected, is when we do a new assessment of market value of the mall, and I don't know when the last time we did one. The last one it was valued at 40 something million. I'm expecting that by now, that value should be higher. Particularly with the new hotel on site. I mean, any approach to valuation should be increasing that value based on that. So
Well, if I may, Mr. Chairman. So
Yeah.
Trustee Bowery, without getting into the, great detail until we get the appraisal, which is presently underway, and to manage expectations, a commercial appraisal on a commercial property such as Haven site will take into account the history of its net income, right? And there'll be a present value calculation strongly based on net income. And I must say that having rent abated for the last 4 years, even though it's coming back, will have a detrimental impact on your market value. Now that will be reversed once you have a few years of performance showing that you're back at 100% rent and 100% tenancy, and you've brought expenses within the control. We began that this year with this current budget, where you'll see that we've decreased the Haven site's projected expenses of the budget by some $1.6 million. That will certainly help. So we'll be getting help on both ends, both the revenues as well as the expenses, but that will not be reflected in the current value of the property as they're working with historical numbers. But the key thing is that we're now moving in the right direction.
Well, why wouldn't we? I mean, the expectation is we have an agreement in place for the lease, the value of the lease of the mall, given we have in place a lease agreement that we could project the lease amount all the way out for 30 years.
And the key word there, Trustee Barre, is project. The appraiser is going to go more heavily based on history as opposed to projection. They will factor in projections, but not as much as this historical performance.
Well, I mean, they'll go for history, but I mean, that could all be a positive for us. I mean, they can't go for history. They can't ignore the fact that the mall rent started last year. I mean, not the mall, the hotel lease payments. I mean, so they can't ignore that.
Not suggesting that it would be ignored, but
an assessment is a going forward assessment, right? I mean, you look backwards, but the new anyway. I think we get into the weeds. I would like for you I'd like for you to submit something to the finance committee at least addressing those two issues.
Yes, sir. They're both valid points, and we'll gladly do so. We'll also submit the appraisal as soon as it's received, of course.
Okay. Thanks. Sorry to mess that up.
Point of information, Chair.
Go ahead.
That request needs to be a motion?
No.
No.
Any other questions? Ms. Jeremiah, we'll continue.
Okay. This is Havenside's statement of revenues and expenses for the month ending August 31st, 2024. We have our revenues for the month of $485,362. Year to date, $5,521,162. Then we have our expenses for the month of $460,307 for a net increase of $25,055 and a year to date of $5,575,530 for a net decrease of $54,369. And that ends the treasurer's report.
I have one last question. Well, I have the last one, but so the report before on the cash flow, The schedule of receipts and disbursements show collections of 4.9, and the statement of revenue expenses show revenues of 5.5. I understand one is a cash and one is a pool, but what's accounting for that difference? How do you reconcile those two?
On the revenue statement of revenue, that's what we billed. That's the total billing for the year.
Oh, okay. So,
And the other one is our collection.
so the difference is outstanding collections? Is that what the difference is? I mean, how, just in English, what is the difference? No, I know that I could.
Yes,
So the difference is the difference between what we've billed to date and what we've collected to date.
basically, yes, Mr.
Okay.
Bori.
Okay. All right, gotcha.
Any other questions for the CFO?
I have a question for Ms. Jeremiah.
She is the CFO.
I'm sorry. Sorry. I had the CEO on my mind. Sorry about that. Ms. Jeremiah, the withdrawal of the 145, is that less than this time last year? Are we withdrawing less?
I think last year it was a little less than we withdraw this year. Remember, we had the loan program that used 20 million.
Correct.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
The loan program that we withdrew 20 million for.
Oh, okay, I got you. Okay. All right.
Which of course is not really an expenditure, it's an investment, right?
Right. Thank you, Ms. Jeremiah.
You're welcome.
What wonderful job as usual.
Any other questions for the CFO?
None for me.
I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second,
Moved by trustee Dorsey, seconded by trustee Bowery. Have a roll call, please.
Yes, trustee Bowery,
yes.
trustee Bowery, yes, trustee Dorsey,
Yes.
trustee Dorsey, yes, trustee Liger, absent, trustee Russell, absent, trustee Smith,
Yes.
trustee Smith, yes, trustee Colwood.
Yes.
Trustee Colwood, yes. Mr. Chairman, 4 yea, 2 absent.
Thank you, Ms. Jeremiah. Next up, the investment officer's report.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, other trustees. This is an update of the investment portfolio as of the end of August 31st, 2024. Just to give a brief summary of the activities of the month in the markets. Global equities saw gains in August, although markets began with extreme volatility. That volatility was in part sparked by weak jobs reports at the beginning of August, as unemployment rose about 4.3%. U.S. equities did end up higher at the end of the month, with resilient corporate earnings and improved economic data mitigating early month fears. Eurozone equities rose, driven by real estate and communication services, amid expectations of further rate cut. In the UK, equities also increased, with the Bank of England making its fourth rate cut in 4 years and signaling caution on further cuts. On the emerging markets front, emerging markets recovered in August, benefiting from dovish Fed signals and local currency strength. And as it relates to global bonds, they had a broadly positive month, with US corporate bonds outperforming and high yield bonds leading returns. Our plan performance, so total plan for the month returned 1.6%. A fiscal year to date, we're up about 20.1%. Our total domestic equity portfolio returned 2.2%. Fiscal year to date, we're up about 3.1% on our domestic equity portfolio. Total international equity returned 2.5%. Fiscal year to date, total portfolio is up 22.7%. Total domestic fixed income returned 1.3%. Fiscal year to date, total domestic fixed is up 11% total. What did that equate to in dollar amount? So we ended the month at approximately $488.8 million. We did have to raise some funds in August to cover our cash on hand needs. So we raised $14 million. We drew $6 million from our Russell 3000 index fund. We drew $2 million from our MSCI EFA index fund, $2 million from our US TIPS fund, $2 million from our US aggregate bond index fund, and $2 million from our US high yield bond index fund, to total at $14 million. Activity for the month, we began at a market value of about $500.7 million. We had a net cash flow of $20 million, netted out of the portfolio to pay benefits. We had an unrealized appreciation in the portfolio of about $8.3 million. That helped us get to that ending market value of $488.8 million. Fiscal year to date, we started at $413.5 million. At the end of August, we did hit a negative cash flow of about $21 million. But we did, so far for the fiscal year as of August 31st, 2024, have seen an unrealized appreciation in the portfolio of $95.8 million, which again gets us back to that $488.8 million. As it relates to fees, we didn't pay any fees for the month, investment management or custody fees. Fiscal year to date, we've paid about $262 in management fees. On the securities lending fund,
262,000, you mean?
260,000, I'm sorry. Month to date, securities lending, we've earned about $2,000. Fiscal year to date, we've earned about $23,000. And those funds were reinvested respectively back into the funds. Mr. Chair, trustees, that concludes my report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for the investment officer? Hearing
I
none?
have a question, sorry, Chair. I guess this question would go to an investment officer as well as Ms. Jeremiah. This next coming month is a 3-pay period month. Does that give us any advantages in that particular month with 3-pay periods? Does that 3rd pay period?
We don't have a 3rd pay period, we're bi-monthly, so it's
You only pay
twice
a month. We don't pay every 2 weeks.
A year.
It's 24.
Not 26. Oh, I guess because I'm still working. I'm a full-time government employee, still working, maybe from that standpoint. Okay, I understand. So I retract that.
All right, motion to accept the investment officer's report.
So move. Second.
Moved by trustee Smith, seconded by trustee Dorsey. Have our roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Trustee Burry?
Yes.
Trustee Burry, yes. Trustee Dorsey?
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey, yes. Trustee Liger, absent. Trustee Russell, absent. Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Smith, yes. Trustee Colwood?
Yes.
Trustee Colwood, yes. Mr. Chairman, 4 yea, 2 absent.
All right, thank you, Mr. Henderson. All right, next item up, bill number 35-0307. This is a bill sponsored sponsored by Senator Milton Potter, that seeks to accomplish two things. It empowers the active employees of the government of the Virgin Islands to directly elect their representatives to the GRS board. And the second thing it does is establishes or mandates that all 7 voting members of the Board of Trustees meet the same requirements with respect to education and work experience. Anybody care to weigh in?
That is going forward.
Going
Okay.
forward.
So
So what
right,
is it,
right,
please?
right now, do we have any vacancies for those 2 slots? The
No.
slots that we're. So
No,
as I understand this, it's eliminating the provision for the labor.
Central Labor Council.
Council. So do we
Correct.
have any other current board members are from that?
Trustee Dorsey and Trustee Liger.
Okay.
So Liger's term has been expired. Trustee Dorsey still in his term, so he would finish his term. It wouldn't be applicable till the conclusion of his term.
Okay, thanks. I don't have any problem with that. I think. I mean, the retirees are represented, so I guess we'll just be having the active members represented, right? That's the,
Exactly. The retirees get to elect their representatives, so it's just to bring some parity for the active government employees.
we have about an equal number of actives and retirees, right?
Yeah, I think it's slightly more retirees. I mean, active, slightly more active. Slightly, very, very
Yeah.
small. So is the position of the board in favor of the bill, or?
Me personally, I'm in favor of that.
I'm not in favor. I think it should go to the probably the policy committee one, since it's a piece of legislation. I think the people who are over this section, which would be the Central Labor Council, should have an opportunity to weigh in on this particular issue, since it affects a certain segment of the union population or active government employees. When you open it up to all employees, then basically you're saying any employee, no matter the level of the employee, can be the I guess the chief of staff of the government, of the governor's office, could be the employee, could fall into that seat. And I don't feel that's fair to the general population of the union employees that are represented through the Central Labor Council. That's number one. So I don't see any fairness in that. I think in the approach with this with Senator Potter, I mean, someone probably needs to give him a call, give him some direction on that, sending it to the board, as opposed to he himself in his office having that discussion with the Central Labor Council, because it will have an effect on government employees, just generally speaking. I see that as an issue. I think there's a different way it could probably be done, but I think it would entail a meeting of the minds, not just throwing it into a GERS meeting like that position really is affecting how this board operates, because that's clearly not the issue. And for the record, academically, I'm definitely qualified to sit on this board when it comes to qualifications of what's required under the current code. And I'm sure the Central Labor Council could find other employees in the government system that are part of a bargaining unit that could fall into the categories of the educational requirements to fall into that as well. So I don't really think that's the issue. It may be some other underlying issue why Senator Potter proposed this, but that's a question I think he should bring to the Central Labor Council, because to bring it this way, I think Senator Potter is attacking the unionized employees. And I think the unionized employees, when we hear this tape, they should think about that going forward. As a representative, he's supposed to be a representative of everybody. He's like singling out a particular segment of this population here. So I definitely have a problem with it. But I'm just one vote.
But I mean, are the unionized employees the same employees as the active employees?
Yes.
Yes.
As a matter of fact,
What I just said, Trustee Maury, the chief of staff, a commissioner of an agency is an employee of the government. The Central Labor Council don't represent those level of employees. That's what I was saying. The Central Labor Government is particular who they represent in this government. So I'm just saying it's not fair to those employees to be left out. Maybe what you could do is expand that segment of the population that might feel that they're left out. You can expand and put them in as trustees on the seat. If they want a representative at the board, you could do it that way. But I don't think we should exclude individuals that are active government employees at that level, because we're talking about levels of employees.
So I don't understand. That makes no sense to me. I mean,
because you would fall in that category if you were still active employee. You were an agency head. So
Yeah.
you were an employee as an agency head. So you would qualify for the seat.
So
but when you take out a unionized employee, that's not good.
So, but I mean, all the total number of government employees, are there more are the union employees a subset of that number? I mean, I don't understand. I'm missing
the majority.
The majority. I mean, I understand the logic ain't working for me. So that's.
So all pieces of legislation that affect the GRS are normally sent to the GRS for the board to take a position. That's all this is. So is the board in favor of or opposed to the bill?
I don't have a problem with it. I think everybody should meet the same criteria.
I agree that everybody should meet. I agree that everybody should meet the same criteria, but I don't see why the Central Labor Council would have to be exempt from meeting that criteria with the people they present to the board. That's all I was saying.
Yeah,
I don't see why that would have to change.
Well,
You change it. You want the Central Labor Council to not have a nickel in the dime of this process. I don't think that's right. They represent a certain segment of this population. They're for the most part, as far as I understand, those are not exempt employees. Now, I think if those exempt employees want a seat at the table, I think we can increase the category and have a category for exempt employees, assistants to assistants, assistants to agency heads. I think we could do that. We can add that in. I don't think that hurts anything by adding another 2 seats or 3 seats, whatever that number should work out to, for those employees who feel like they're left out. But I don't think we need to change this section where the Central Labor Council, through their process, appoints a member to the governor, a list for the governor to select. Because at the end of the day, the governor still has to select, as it is in the code, as we see it today, who those individuals would be. So that's all I was saying. I think you would still have to meet the qualifications. And I believe even if you are going to the employee process, the retiree process, you should meet the same qualifications. You should go through a Senate confirmation, because as a Central Labor Government, as a Central Council appointed employee like I was, I still had to go through a Senate confirmation. As a retiree, I don't believe you have to go through the Senate confirmation process. You just get elected by retirees and then you sit in the seat. But I think everybody should go through the same process. We're gonna be fair. Let's just be fair across the board, because I agree with the chair. This is a very important financial institution. And I think the public needs to know, the constituents need to know, what your thoughts are in moving this system forward. And I had to go through that confirmation. I actually went through it twice. So I think if you want to make amendments, let's just do a comprehensive amendment and make sure everybody's equally going through a process, not just run for an office and then come into the seat and we have no idea what you're going to bring to the table. So I think that should be added as well. My recommendation is add 2 more seats for those employees who may be left out that are unclassified. So that would include what you call unclassified at every level, going up over the members of the different bargaining units, because there are supervisors who are in bargaining units. So they would come to the Central Labor Council, and then there's a rank and file that would come to the Central Labor Council. But those who are exempt would not. So it seems to me that's the group that needs to be added to this law and leave the Central Labor Council position alone. And I think that's a talk we should probably have with, or the Central Labor Council probably needs to have with the senator, because I think that's an infringement on those employees. So, and I hope the employees are listening when they.
So let me ask, how many people make up the Central Labor Council?
I think it's 30-something unions.
How many people? I don't mean the number of employees. I mean the people that are actually on the council.
Oh, I don't know that number off the top.
You have an estimate? 12, 15, 20?
Somewhere around that number.
So
It's for each bargaining unit has a seat at the table.
okay, so 30 bargaining units. So let's say 40 people make up the Central Labor Council. So you're saying that it's not fair to have the 5,000, 6,000 union members directly elect their representatives, as opposed to 30 or 40 people deciding who will represent 5,000 people.
Well, there's a process that the Central Labor Council uses. You would have to invite them. That's why I was saying that this went to the policy committee. We can iron out those details in a
It's not for us to iron out. This is a bill that's in the legislature. It's before us to decide if we are in favor of the bill or if we oppose the bill.
I hear you, Chair, but I'm speaking to Senator Potter because it's his bill. And I know he listens to these hearings, so I'm just giving him my position since it affects me as a trustee on the board, only from the standpoint of I was appointed by the Central Labor Council. However, again, the other requirements I meet if I wasn't appointed from the Central Labor Council. However, there may be other people who were appointed to the board, if they had to come back on the board, may not meet these requirements going forward. I'm just saying. So it's 2 ways you can look at it. You can do all of this and come right back and still end up where we're at in terms of positions on the board. I was just saying, just to be fair, and I'm speaking to Mr. Potter, since it's his bill, and this is a public forum, next time, maybe you can do it from that position. Start with the individuals who you are affecting first, and then have that discussion. This is like circumventing the process as a senator, as a sitting senator, Mr. Potter.
Okay, so you're opposing it. Trustee Dorsey.
Again, I'm saying, it's not that it's a black and white. We're having a discussion, right? We're having a discussion. Mr. Potter's listening.
Don't
Or
pass
his
the discussion.
His constituents.
Because we discussed to get to,
So
ultimately we have to decide as a board if we are in favor of the bill or if we oppose it. You put on a record your issues with the bill. You spoke to Mr. Potter on the record. So I'm asking you now, we're dealing with what's before us. Are you in favor of the bill, yes or no?
I'm not in favor.
Okay, Trustee Smith, are you in favor of it, yes or no?
Yes.
Trustee Bowery?
Yes,
Alwood, yes, so 3 are in favor, 1 opposed. So the position of the board is we are in favor of the legislation.
And that was a poll as opposed
So go ahead and take a formal poll or vote, Mr. Dawson.
So I have a point of information.
Quick motion.
I have a point of information. Chair.
Right, trustee Dorsey.
So is the process as we get language from Senator Potter, Chair? Because it seems like we get a lot of language from Senator Potter. We don't put this in the policy committee. We're not using a policy committee vehicle that we have as a board to discuss this. I didn't think this was the forum to actually get back and forth into this. I'm not sure what the rush is.
Sir,
But this is something that should have gone to the policy committee.
What
You
before-
established the policy committee.
what is before us is a bill that's in the legislature.
Okay.
This is not a
Just
policy of the
asking.
GRS.
But it came in as language to change the function of how this board operates, Chair.
We've been,
This should have gone to the policy committee. However, you the
Sir.
chair, you put it on the agenda. I understand that. But is this how we're gonna do it in the future?
you put on the record that you're not in favor of it. Go ahead and.
No.
Go ahead and take a vote, Mr. Dawson.
That's not the point, Chair.
Make a motion, please.
Is there a motion?
Trustee Smith.
So moved.
Second,
Motion would be to,
Second,
that's the motion.
board is in favor or in support of bill number 35-0307.
So moved. She heard you?
I couldn't hear that.
The motion is that the board is in favor of the provisions of bill numbers 35-0307.
Oh, okay.
So moved by trustee Smith, seconded by trustee Barry.
Would you like a roll call?
Roll call, please. I'm sorry.
Trustee Barry,
Yes,
trustee Barry, yes. Trustee Dorsey,
No.
trustee Dorsey, no. Trustee Liger absent. Trustee Russell absent. Trustee Smith,
Yes.
trustee Smith, yes. Trustee Colwood,
Yes.
trustee Colwood, yes. Mr. Chairman, 3 yea, 1 nay, 2 absent.
All right, next item on the agenda, the approval of the fiscal year 2025 budgets. The budget committee met on September 12th, 2024. All the trustees were invited to do a deep dive into the budget. The budgets that are on the agenda today is what was forwarded out of the committee. So they're before the full board now for official action or ratification. So can I have a motion to accept the bills?
Budget.
The budget, sorry.
Try and make a motion to accept the budget. Budget, committee recommendation for FY budget 2025.
Point of information, Chair.
Right, trustee Dawson.
Are we gonna have any discussion on this budget to the public as to what we did or didn't do in committee? Or we just voting it flat out and not telling the public what we increase, decrease, or we save money?
I don't see any need for discussion. We have the budgets.
Okay, let me ask this question. For the central government, salaries for government employees are public. Is it the same for the GERS, the CEO? Is it the same that our salaries at the GERS is for public consumption? Like people can just go online for the central government, put your name in and see what your salary is. Is that the same for the GERS? Is that the same setup?
My first year in, I don't know what the past practice has been, but I would defer to legal general counsel as well as the board counsel.
Well, I refer to the board counsel at this point.
Mr. Chairman.
Board counsel.
No, let's take a recess for 2 minutes.
Salaries open.
Huh?
Salaries open to the public. I don't know, I don't think it's on the website.
No, with public information.
Public information, yeah. But
We, we don't have it set up like our personal
Yeah,
setup,
you
like
can't-
you
can't
can't,
go on our
we could go
website.
on Google, but
To what part? Okay, we're back on the record. Trustee Dorsey, a question for council.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair, other committee members, or trustees. Trustee Dorsey, it's my position that the salaries of GRS employees are public information.
So, with that being said, the other part I was requesting was a little synopsis on what actually happened with this year's budget, as opposed to just bringing it in front of us and voting it up or down. So I guess the CEO could talk about whatever savings occurred overall on the personnel side, and then the increases on the personnel side. Just a synopsis. It's not something we normally do, but I realize we need to do to let the constituent know how the money is being spent or not being spent, or how we're saving the money.
Mr. Administrator, would you present a synopsis of the
Yes.
fiscal year 2025 budgets to the listening public?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So the fiscal year 2025 proposed budget, which includes both operations, capital, and the Board of Trustees, shows a reduction of $132,319. Comes in at $22,703,164, of which $16.8 million is operations and $5.9 million is capital. Within operations, we have the Board of Trustees at $752,000, which is roughly the same as fiscal year 2024. Excuse me, a slight increase of $9,000. Administration comes in at $11.3 million, which is $1.8 million less than was budgeted for fiscal 2024. Facilities management, operations, and control is at $4.7 million. That is an increase of $2 million, which is basically an offset of the reduction in administration, given a reorganization within the GERS. So after all is said and done there, we're looking at an operations budget of about $207,000 more than fiscal 2024. Administration capital, we have which is a subset of the overall capital budget, which was down by $339,000, shows one of our initiatives for our benefit administration system being up by $50,000, computer hardware being up by $57,000, furniture and minor repairs up by $13,000. For facilities management, operations and control capital, we have repairs and renovations, which are at $1,775,000, a reduction of $320,000. Vehicles, an increase of $55,000 as we have to replace, well, actually supplement our fleet by one vehicle per district. So that's an increase of $55,000. Machinery and equipment at $0, which is a reduction of $200,000. Furniture at $5,000, which is an increase of $5,000. The net impact on the capital budget is $339,445 reduction, coming in at $5,860,355. So when you put the capital and the operations together, the overall proposed budget is a decrease of $132,000 for fiscal 2025. That's GERS proper. And the personnel is included within, excuse me, within operations. For Haven site, I will pull that up. Okay. Haven site for fiscal 2025, we are looking at a reduction of 1,617,821, and that is comprised of a reduction in the operations area of okay, so Haven Site Mall, we're looking at personnel services having an increase of 31,362. That goes from 1,974,832 in the fiscal 24 budget to 2,006,194 in the fiscal 25 budget, for an increase of 31,362. There's an accompanying increase in fringe benefits of 114,917. Supplies are reduced by $255,900. The services, a reduction of $23,200. Utilities, essentially the same. Capital outlay, a reduction of $1,485,000. So between capital and operations, we're looking at a reduction of $1,617,821 for Haven site. And that's the high level.
CEO, you skipped over the salary and title changes.
That is incorporated within the administration line that I shared for GERS.
Okay, so what was the difference?
I'm switching screens, so you have to give me a moment, please. And Mr. Chairman, all of this information was shared with the budget committee, and it's split into several tabs, so it's not quite as easy without going through several tabs to present this. It's not a summary. It's incorporated within administration.
Salary and title changes, is that what you're referring to?
Well, title changes is a supplement. It's not in the budget itself.
Okay, but you changed the salaries of certain employees who got different title changes. So is that a whole lot of employees, or are we talking about 3 or 4 employees?
Well, first of all, the bulk of the employees that received increases are due to union contracts in the classified service. And there were 5 employees, I think, affected by that are unclassified that were adjusted due to the reorganization, or as being proposed rather. And
okay, so the salary changes, the bulk of them, as you just stated, were unionized employees, right?
That is correct.
And then the title changes, they were not unionized employees, right?
That is correct.
So the title changes, can you give
and
a number on the title changes?
I'm pulling that up, sir.
And just for the record, as CEO, I'm not against the title changes. I just like it out there for the viewing and listening public to understand what's going on. Because
yes,
you say
there are 5 individuals, as I indicated, that receive salary adjustments in the proposed fiscal 25 budget.
Okay, the difference in the number from where you were at to where those changes took those numbers, how much was the difference overall?
I would have to pull that from the supplement and do a calculation for you.
Oh, so you don't have that today?
I can have it. I have all the information. I have to convert the
Well, not-
data
but
into
not-
information to answer your question.
Well, not you, Mr. CEO, but maybe your financial, Ms. Jeremiah might have that number.
Well, I do as well, if I can have a moment
Oh,
to
sure,
add them.
go ahead,
Because I have to take it from the supplement.
that's fine.
Mr. Chairman, may I request a recess so that I can pull that together and not hold up the meeting?
All right, the board stands in recess. All right, we're back on the record. Mr. Administrator, were you able to gather the information?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as I indicated, there's 5 individuals that would be affected, and the total increase is $87,600.
Okay, thank you, CEO. The other question I had in reference to the budget, are we looking at any cost of living adjustments overall for the constituents?
And I'm sorry, what do you refer to constituents?
I mean, our retirees, an adjustment, or is that something we just wait to get from the lottery?
Well, through the chair to Trustee Dorsey, that is a policy decision of the board with regards to any cost of living adjustments for the retirees.
Well, I was wondering if you had any recommendations. That's really where I was coming from on that issue. Have you had individuals come into the office? I guess going to your website, putting in comments in reference to a cost of living adjustment to the annuities?
No, sir, I have not, and I'm not aware of any such comments on our
Okay.
webpage.
Okay. Good. One other question, is Mr. Thomas online, who handles our computer systems?
I don't know who's online.
Uh,
Senior staff often tunes in.
Okay, so I have a question of Mr. Thomas in reference to the general public having access
Okay, what,
to.
time out.
I'm talking about the salary.
Time out. Let's stick to the agenda, please.
I'm sticking to the agenda, it's an agenda question.
We're talking
Okay,
about the
let me-
budget.
I'm talking about the budget. I'm talking about salary of government employees who are retirees who work, I'm sorry, active employees that work for the retirement system. In terms of the public having access, like they do with the central government where I work, you put your name in the system, they can go up on the website of the Division of Personnel, and you can see the salary of the individual, right? So I was asking your computer person, is that something you're working on to get to that point? Since it is public information where individuals can go up on the GRS website, I guess through the Division of Personnel software, put in the employee's name and see the salary. So I was asking your computer person that, since you say that person is online, Mr. Thomas.
I didn't say he was online. I said they're often online. I don't know who's online, frankly. I don't know if Mr. Moses could assist us with that. But no, Mr. Thomas, if he was online, he would probably have chimed in already.
He tuned in on YouTube, so I sent a message to Tom, jump on and Zoom.
Can you address it to Trustee Dorsey? He asked the question.
With the two websites, we don't have access to personnel's website and they don't have access to ours. So it have to be a communication between us and them for that to happen.
Okay, so I guess, Mr. Moses, my question is the GRS able to, because you're independent of that website, you're independent of that personnel, right? So are you able to set up your own in-house system where if someone wants to see what Mr. Moses' salary is, they can put his name in and his salary will come up like the central government? Are you guys looking to work on that? Are you working on it? Are you having discussions?
Well, that's a policy type question. I don't think that Mr. Moses can answer that. To answer you honestly, that has not been a discussion. This is the first that the subject is being raised, not dismissing it, but it's being raised today. And if it's the pleasure of the board that we move in that direction.
Well, that's not correct. I raised this with the former CEO.
I don't know what happened before I arrived, the Trustee Dorsey.
Okay, I raised it with the former CEO. So. Okay, well, if you're not there, you're not there. It was just something I raised again.
And once again, I wasn't aware, but now I am based on what you're saying, so.
Well, Mr. Thomas, I think he did give an answer before on that issue when Mr. Nibs was here, the former CEO. I like to call people's names. The former CEO was here. I really didn't get an answer then. I'm not getting one today, so it was just a question. And we are talking about salary and title changes, and those things would come up under the central government, your title, your name, your salary.
I have a question. I have a question.
That's all I had for that. Thank you, CEO.
Go ahead, Trustee Bory.
Are we up to date as far as the budget is concerned? Are we up to date with all the negotiated salary increases?
Yes, Trustee Bory.
Okay. Okay.
That was it for me, Chair.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion to accept the fiscal year 2025 budgets as proposed.
So move.
Moved by Trustee Dorsey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Smith. Roll call, please.
Yes, Trustee Bory.
Yes.
Trustee Bory, yes. Trustee Dorsey.
Yes.
Trustee Dorsey, yes. Trustee Liger. Trustee Liger absent. Trustee Russell. Trustee Russell absent. Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Trustee Smith, yes. Trustee Colwood.
Yes.
Trustee Colwood, yes. Mr. Chairman, 48, 2 absent.
Thank you. Next item up, the administrator's recommendation to increase the employer contribution to 26.5%.
Is that, you want us to motion that?
No, let the administrator advise the public.
So
Oh, I got you.
Looking for the resolution.
Or you had a question?
Trustee Barry.
yeah, it said the resolution that I had, and I had a conversation with Mr. Dawson about the possibility of beefing it up. The one that came out, I don't think it provides enough support for the resolution. I think it needs to be, you know, I mean, it in terms of justification. I mean, it says whereas due to continuing liquidity issues. I mean, that's all it says, liquidity issues. I think if you're talking about increasing the contribution by 3 percentage points, and I think that for the government, that's going, I think Mr. Dawson, correct me if I'm wrong, you indicated that that's probably gonna equate to about $13 million addition to the budget. So was that?
That is for our trustee Barry, and that's not all central government. It would include semi-autonomous agencies, but the bulk of it would be central government, correct?
Yeah, but it's okay, and the government. I mean, the other central governments, the other components of governments are also crying out for money. Also, they also cash strapped, every one of them, as far as I heard and listening to some of the budget debates. So it's a significant amount of money, and I as a board member, knowing all that I need to, all we've been through, and with the benefit of all the reports and stuff that support it, I think that the resolution itself should be a bit more robust, a lot more robust in terms of the justification. It says pursuant to 3 VIC 718B, and the version of 718B that I found on Google, I'm not sure I understand where that piece of the code offers a justification for the increase. I mean, so
Point of
Our trustee,
If I may address that last section, trustee Bory, I think when we was looking, one of the confusion is that there's a section called 718, and then it has in parentheses A, B, C, D, and then there's also a section 718A, 718B. So you may have been looking at 718B, but you need to look at 718, and then it has the parentheses AB. But the parentheses B is where it has, and I'm abbreviating, however, the Government Employees Retirement System Board of Trustees may not increase rates in addition to rates already in effect by more than 3% over a 5-year period. And that is a provision that the system has consistently used over the years to increase the employer contributions.
okay, so I read that, and that says it may not increase more than some number, but that doesn't say what number it could increase to. And I think the resolution should support, should fill that in. And I mean, I'm totally in favor of it. I know all the history behind it. I know that the actuarial studies assume it, and I know that when we went to the bond resolution and we set up the payment schedule, that I mean, it assumes, all that analysis assumes that the increase in 2025. So I know the history about it. I just I just think that that history and that robust support that we all know need to be reflected, summarized somehow in the resolution. I mean, somebody on the outside picking up this resolution and says, you know, all it says is we're going to increase it pursuant due to continuing liquidity issues and future potential insolvency. I just think it needs to be more robust in defend the decision. I mean, I'm in favor of the decision. I know that all the analysis we've done for the funding note and all that assume that that's increased. I mean, the conclusion that the funding note would pretty much at least at the time go a long way to moving us away from insolvency. All that conclusion assumes that 3% increase into 2025. As a matter of fact, there was a point in time when we were suggesting as a board that we asked the legislature to speed up the implementation of the 3%. So, I mean, I just think that the resolution that is in current form, I think, doesn't lay out the case well enough. I don't expect the resolution to be the same as the actual analysis, which is many pages, but at least you need to give a further, a more robust justification for that increase. So I'm in favor of it, of the increase. As I said, because of all I know and everything we've done before, that all the analysis we've done before that assumes that. But I think somehow some of that context needs to be reflected in the resolution. Understand? I think just simply saying due to continuing liquidity issues and future potential insolvency, I don't think that does justice to the case that we have, that we all know about. And keeping in mind that it's going to be what that's going to be adding like $13 million or so to the government expenditure at a time when they're all crying out for more money, so or lack thereof. So that's my take on it, Mr. Chairman. I mean, I'm in favor of the increase, and I just think the resolution needs to be form up to be more robust in terms of their justification.
All right, point well taken.
Point information. You go ahead, Chair.
Point well taken, and at least my experience as being chair, we vote on a resolution and then the actual final resolution is drafted after, you know, we take the vote. So your ideas and stuff, the recommendation that you're making could be incorporated into the final draft of the resolution that's signed off on. So those are definitely some valid points and concerns that you raised. Point of information, Trustee Dorsey.
Yes, after we vote on this today, should we be looking at increasing the 3% to 5% going forward?
The code says you can increase it more than 3% every 5 years.
Well, I mean, as a recommendation to the Senate, coming from the GERS, from the board, because of it pending insolvency, after we get this approved, moving forward, could we look at something like that, increasing that, which we would have?
We could also look at that. Let's try to address what's before us.
I'm good with this. I'm not sure what else we want to put in it. I'm ready to move forward and vote. I know it's needed based on which the advisors and our actuaries have indicated to us that it is needed.
Okay, so make the motion.
I just lost it again. I lost the whole thing here. I hit a button. You want to pull it up? Hold on,
See, it just out of the way, just.
Yeah,
hold on. Hold on. We say. No, that's the room.
Well, Attorney Williams said,
That's Bori.
just to say,
Move to increase the employer contribution rate an additional 3% effective January 1st, 2025.
Mr. Chairman, I have to step out for about 2 minutes, please.
well, let's
Okay,
vote first.
let's vote
Let's
quick before you go.
step out.
Bring the quorum.
Second,
Okay, moved by,
So
moved by Dorsey, seconded by Smith. Let's take a quick vote.
Trustee Bory,
Trustee
Yes.
Bowie?
Yes.
All right,
trustee Dorsey,
yes.
trustee Dorsey, yes, trustee Liger. Trustee Liger absent, trustee Russell. Trustee Russell absent, trustee Smith,
yes.
trustee Smith, yes, trustee Colwood.
yes,
Trustee Colwood, yes, Mr. Chairman, 4 yea, 2 absent.
all right, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, with regards to the drafting of the resolution, may I ask that it also direct the administrator to proceed accordingly, effective January 2025?
All right, noted.
Very
Thank you.
good point.
All right. Privileges of the floor.
We don't have a. You gotta wait.
All right, well, that concludes the item on the agenda. Meeting ends at 12:10, lack of a quorum. Thank you, folks. Have a good day, y'all.
Thank you.